Welcome to this week's Torah lesson. This week's Torah portion is Parsha's Pinchas. The question of the week is, how can we add in joy and celebration this Shabbos, the beginning of the 3 weeks? So in this week's Torah portion, Parsha's Pinchas, we have the Haftorah. Now, generally speaking, all the Haftorot of the Torah portion are connected to the theme of the Torah portion of that week. Besides holidays, or in our case, we begin the 3 weeks of mourning for the destruction of the temples, which starts this week on Shiva Asar B'Tammuz and goes till Tisha B'Av. So for the next 3 weeks, the next 3 Shabbatot, we read about the prophecy of the destruction of the temple, or as it's called, Shalosh to Peroneus, the 3 of retribution that's God going to take for the Jewish people for not listening to Him. After Tisha B'Av, we start reading Shiva the Nechemta, where God comforts the Jewish people, and that goes on for 7 weeks. So Rebbe asks the question, we know Shabbat, God gave us as a gift. Shabbos is a day of rest, Shabbos is a day of joy, Shabbos is a day of celebration. And there's a concept which is called Magdim Refuah Lamaka. Before God brings any punishment, the healing always exists. We have to find it, but the healing is there. So before Hashem brought the destruction, He gave us the gift of Shabbos. Why? Because Shabbos, we know that even though, God forbid, somebody's in mourning, Shabbos is no mourning. You have to be happy. You have to be full of simcha. You have to have full of tainug, full of celebration. But here the question is, the 3 weeks of mourning, what do they call the Haftorahs? They're called Shalosh to Peroneus, 3 weeks of retribution. I thought Shabbos is supposed to be a day of joy and celebration. So the Rebbe explains as follows, and he says a fascinating idea. That Peroneus actually means, yes, God is coming to collect a debt for not listening. But Peroneus also has another interpretation. Like we find by Paroi, so Paroi, who was the king of Egypt, but Paroi also Kabbalistically stands for the Spariu, where it was totally opened up. There's a huge revelation. So on a certain high spiritual level, Paroi is where things are totally revealed. So the same thing the Rebbe says in reference to Shalosh to Peroneus, that Peroneus could mean retribution, but Peroneus could also mean tremendous, huge revelations. And the Rebbe says that in this case, Shalosh to Peroneus, the 3 weeks, you can look at it as retribution, and that's a choice, or you can look at it with this tremendous revelation that's taking place. What is the tremendous revelation? So first thing the Rebbe starts and says that look at Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, which is the beginning of the 3 weeks. When does it start? On the 17th of Tammuz. We all know that the word good in Hebrew, which is toiv, the numerical value is 17. So 17th of Tammuz, in it is buried already a secret that it's good. More importantly, the Rebbe says, if you give a look specifically into the Torah portion of Pinchas, Matois and Masai and Dvarim, all the 4 Torah portions that we read in these 3 weeks, and we have 4 because Matas and Matai are going to be together. So all these 4 speak about what? The Jewish people, the plan of going into and conquering the land. Not only conquering the land on the west side of the Jordan, where the 7 nations were, but also on the east side of the Jordan, with the three other nations that we had to conquer, which is a reference to the full conquering of the whole land of Israel. Not only what we have today on the west side of the Jordan, but also on the east side, which includes the 7 nations and the 3 nations. And we know spiritually, what's the difference between the 7 nations and the 3 nations? So the 7 nations refer to the midot, the emotions. And the reason why we're able to conquer up until now the 7 nations, because our emotions we can take control over, even though intellectually if we're not holding there. However, in order to fully take control of our intellect, that we're going to need for Mashiach to come to give us the power and the energy and the guidance and the inspiration to transform our intellect as well. But nevertheless, in these 4 Torah portions, it speaks about the conquering of the other 3 nations as well. That means we have the ability to transform our intellect as well. So here you see that the Torah is teaching us that not only do we have the power to transform the emotions, we also have the power to transform our intellect. And we started the process as we learned the Torah portion about it. And the Rebbe proves that this is correct because the fact is, what happens after the 3 weeks of Peroneus? We have 7 weeks of comfort. How can you have 7 weeks of comfort, which is referring to the 7 emotions being transformed, if you weren't able to start the process of transforming your intellect? Obviously, you were able to start the process, and that's why you can have Shevet and Nechemta. It's impossible to go to Shevet and Nechemta, 7 weeks of comfort, if we did not start the process of transforming our intellect. So based on this, the Rebbe says, which answers our question, how can we have extra joy on this Shabbos? Because we know that the process of the 3 weeks starts with Yud Zayin Tammuz, Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, which is good. And we know the 3 weeks, and especially Shabbos, is given to us to be joyful and to celebrate. And Peroneus doesn't mean retribution, it actually means tremendous revelations. And the revelations start as you learn the Torah portion, the way we're starting to conquer even the 3 nations on the east side of the Jordan. So because we're able to conquer the 3 nations on the east side, which refers to our intellect, therefore, this Shabbos and the next 2 Shabbosim, which are the Shabbos of the 3 weeks, even though it's in a period of mourning, it's time to celebrate and have tremendous simcha and tremendous joy, because we are connected to Hashem on a much higher level where everything is revealed to each and every one of us. Thanks so much for joining us for our weekly Torah lesson. This week's Torah portion is dedicated to the memory of Shlomo ben Yosef, Rachel bas Lipa, and Baruch ben Aryeh. May their souls be elevated by the Torah that we're studying in their memory. Thanks again for joining us. For more information, please see our website, chabadswf.org. Have a great, joyous, and happy week, and happy 3 weeks.